Let's get started.
Let's do it. It's great to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out for the program today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You bet. So before we get into your good work, I want to know this. This is something I always start off my interviews with, and I don't think we talk about it a whole lot, maybe because it was traumatic. But 6 years ago, this pandemic was changing our world, changing our
Mhm.
lives. How did you get through that era, and how did it change the way that you live and work today?
Hmm. Work is pretty much, I mean, we can answer it on the work was pretty much the same because at the time I was a franchise business owner and I was helping people explore franchising as an option. And um, it was at the time it was tumultuous because people were like, I don't know how the world is going to be. But eventually they're like, get me out of corporate. I don't want to do this shit anymore. Excuse my language.
No, you're good.
I'm done. I'm done. I don't like this. And so my business took off, because I had a lot more people who were like, I got to get out of this. Um, Living, it was fun for for a few weeks having all of us at home with my son. I remember one day he was doing gym in the living room, sort of doing his calisthenics or whatever he was doing. I was in the kitchen watching all this. My husband was in the office, and so that was interesting. And since then, though, it feels like life has gone back to normal. So yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I was thinking though how it affects my business virtually aligned, and that there's a lot more need and for that because people realize life is short and they want to go back to doing the things that they want. And it opened up possibilities for people in the Philippines because all of my VAs are in the Philippines, for example.
Yeah.
And so it opened up opportunities for them to work, and people realized, hey, we don't have to have them in person because people got used to working remotely with everybody. So I think that's how it works.
Yeah, and I think, the one thing that was ironically strange about that time was I think we realized how much we need people.
Yes,
You know,
yes, good
es-
point.
Especially in a room together. Like, I have a jazz radio show and like not being able to see live music. When you finally get that chance to exchange all of that sound and humanness, it's a really big deal. Yeah, and I think the virtual part though, that being more of a part of our reality, like us being able to speak, it's such
Mhm.
a large geographical gulch is great. But even telehealth and other things like that, I think it's great that we can do that and that we can live our lives without spending all the gas and carbon imprint, all of those
Mhm.
things that
Mhm.
went into
Mhm.
it. Um,
Yeah.
so let's get into the work that you're doing specifically today. And kids always get the truth out of us. They are the serum. If I put
Yeah.
you in front of 13-year-olds at career day and one of the kids wants to know what you do on a daily basis, how do you make it make sense to them?
What I do for a 13-year-old, I'd say you have things that you're innately good at that you love to do. Legos, engineering, writing, drawing, whatever, whatever it is. Those are the things that you love to do and that are so fun for you that you could do them for hours. Let me just put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I
Sure.
apologize.
No
I
worries.
realized that wasn't on. Um, so those are the things that you love to do. But there's things that you hate to do. You hate to do the dishes, you hate to make your bed, you hate to, do your laundry, whatever it is. In my family, it's empty the cat boxes. My now 18-year-old, it's like, you got to empty the cat boxes, kid. And some of those things you have to do, right? You can't, I don't love brushing my teeth. You kind of got to brush your teeth. Sorry.
Yep.
You know, but my role is to help you find people who are going to do all those things. Imagine you had a person who was coming in and doing all those things you hate to do. Maybe not brush your teeth because that's something, but would make your bed for you, would do your laundry, would empty the dishes, whatever it is. I have people who love to do those things, who love to make people's beds and do their laundry and whatever. And what my role is to match you. So you get to choose the things that you want to do. You think about all those things you don't want to do. And let me find you somebody who's going to do all those things you don't want to do. So that's kind of how it works.
Yeah. So what did you want to be at that age? When you were at career day, what was your dream gig?
Oh, I'm at 50. What am I, 57? I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So I don't remember what I wanted to be at that age. Get through middle school was my biggest
Yeah.
goal at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I had so many interests and frankly, I mean, I joke, I do know what I want to do now. I love what I'm doing. I love being an entrepreneur. I love being a founder. I love being a matchmaker. I love all of that. But I remember I was very confused out of college and even, got my MBA. My first job out of MBA school was I was a financial analyst. And I thought, well, I'm pretty smart. I like numbers. I have an MBA. I can do this. And I was miserable at it. I hated it and they hated me doing it because that's not my strength.
Yeah.
And so it took me a number of years, probably well into my 20s before I figured out, this is it. This is what I want to be doing.
But if you go back to the beginning, there's building blocks that led you to be an entrepreneur and all of the work that you're doing now. Take me back to your beginnings. What were those foundational elements that you either consciously or subconsciously absorbed that eventually became the roadmap?
It's interesting. If you look at my career, I started as a financial analyst and then ended up as an entrepreneur, being a matchmaker between virtual assistants and entrepreneurs. What? You know,
Yeah.
it's a fun through line. So I did financial analysis, was horrible at it, kept getting laid off or in one case fired because I wasn't a good fit. And so that taught me interviewing, resume writing, networking, all of that stuff, which was so helpful. Transitioned to software project management and enjoyed that. But again, wasn't very good at it because it requires a lot of details. But again, taught me, how to find a job. Got laid off. It was, the crash, 2001 crash, and realized a lot of people were being laid off, and there was such a thing as outplacement, which was helping people who had been laid off find their next job. And that's when I came alive. That's for the first time I loved what I was doing because I really enjoy, I'm an educator. I'm fifth generation educator, not in the classroom anymore, but my mother, my grandfather, my great grandfather, so on and so forth. And I love teaching people how to network, how to write a resume, how to, do all of those things that are necessary. And I did that for a long time and loved it. And I said, okay. And when that time was up, I decided, because I realized I was getting bored with it, I decided to become a recruiter, which is the opposite side of the same coin.
Yeah.
And loved being a recruiter. Again, matchmaker, right? Helping people, making a difference in people's lives. And did recruiting for a number of years until 2008. The crash happened, and not a lot of people were were hiring recruiters at the time, which is fine. Excuse me. And so then, good timing, my son was born. I wanted to spend time with him. We ended up moving to France for a couple of years, had a great time. And then we had to come back suddenly from France. And I had to find the house, I had to buy the car, I had to furnish it, I had to get my kid enrolled in school, got everybody settled. And then in 2014, found a job as a relocation consultant. And again, matchmaking and helping people and having them arrive and feel, okay, I'm in good hands. I worked with a lot of international people. So getting their social security number, getting their bank account, getting their driver's license, all of that stuff. And again, loved it. Did that for a number of years and then said, okay, I'm ready to do something on my own. And because of my own experiences with my son and the people I was helping, here in the Bay Area, there's a million private schools. And there's no central database that says, okay, this is, if you want this kind of education, go here. If you live here, that kind of thing. And said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and started that and really quickly realized this was above my pay grade. I wasn't good at that. Happened to attend a workshop on franchise options. And I said, oh, this allows me to be an entrepreneur without having to come up with the marketing and the website and how to get clients and all that stuff. It's sort of business in a box. Did that for 8 years and loved it. Again, matchmaker, making a difference for people. I mean, there's a through line for this, right?
Sure.
And I figured out what I love to do. And excuse me. And so it was so powerful for me. I was so happy and very successful because people knew and trusted me. They knew that I wasn't a salesperson. They knew I was a coach on their side of the table helping them. And then last year became clear it was time to leave that particular franchise. And in the meantime, about 5 or 6 years earlier, I had hired a virtual assistant, and it was a game changer. I loved her and I loved what she did. Again, going back to my example with the 13-year-old, I wanted to be talking to clients. I wanted to be making a difference. I wanted to be having conversations. I didn't want to be updating my CRM and sending out email reminders and, you know, posting on LinkedIn. That's not my zone of genius. That's not what I love to do. And so as a result, about after I had my own VA for a few months, I said, other people in my same franchise could really benefit from having a VA. So I created a little company that turned into a big company supporting more than 60 franchise business owners of my franchise. And again, loved it. And as it became clear that it was time to leave that particular franchise, I wasn't enjoying it anymore, wasn't feeling connected to it. Said, well, let me leave and proselytize the beauty of virtual assistants and what a game changer they are. And so I created two businesses. I still have and had and still have that business supporting people at that franchise that I belong to. And I created one that's called Virtually Aligned, where for founders, coaches, entrepreneurs, purpose-driven entrepreneurs who got into business to make a difference, I help match make them with their ideal executive virtual assistant. So we have a team of people, and I have a team of 20 virtual assistants in the Philippines who are some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. And we get a sense of what the client wants. Who are they? What's the most important thing for them? What do they want to be doing? What are the things they don't want to be doing anymore? We just have a simple conversation. We take that information and we match make them with a pool of virtual assistants. Or if we don't have that person in house, then we will recruit them. Um, on average, for every job we post, we get between 600 and 900 applicants. So we do all of the screening, take them through a thorough 20-step process, and introduce the founder, the entrepreneur, with their ideal, with the top three candidates that they then hire. What I love, again, making a difference in people's lives. I
Yeah.
mean, the coach and the founder is happy because they're doing the things that they love and they can grow their business or spend that time doing whatever they love. The virtual assistants love it too
Yeah.
because it makes a difference in their lives. They love this work. They enjoy the the making a difference for their clients and really partnering with them. They enjoy the money and the freedom that gives them. So that's my baby. But then I also created Your Franchise Pros, which is uh specific virtual assistants for people who understand the franchising world. And so that's where how I landed. So
I love
again,
it.
it sounds like how did what you went from here to here, but you can see the through line.
Well, yeah, there's a theme, and I think that what I get from your career path, if you look from the outside in and look on paper, you're like, wow, there's all these transitions. But it seems to me as though you have a healthy dose of wonder, and you're not going to
Mm.
settle. Because there's a
Yes.
lot of people that get in the business world and they settle no matter what. It's kind of like people that are in a bad relationship. They settle because
Yeah.
there's things, right, that keep them
Yeah.
tethered and they want to do it for the kids or whatever it is. But it seems like you've really kind of followed your id. Like if it doesn't work, you're out.
Yep, yep. And that's so vital for
Yeah.
people. I
Yep.
have a saying that I was told many years ago that I was unmanageable by a former boss. I hated him. I hated that. But I look back on it, and that was one of the most impactful things he ever said to me.
Sure.
Because now I realize being unmanageable is my superpower,
Absolutely.
one of the things that is makes me great, and I'm trying to proselytize that to the world. And it can be done in corporate and it can be done as entrepreneurs
Hmm.
because You need to find that thing that makes you so good, and you can be a positive disruptor inside the company.
Yeah,
You can be a positive disruptor as an entrepreneur. So
for
there's
sure.
a huge, anyway, yeah, I
I love
agree.
it.
You have to figure out who you are,
You
and
do.
you owe it to your kids.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, you
That's
owe
it.
it to your kids. They need to see you happy. If you're setting an example of settling, they think that's the way to be.
Yep.
Could you imagine your kids saying, "Well, I absolutely hate my job. I'm dragging myself. Can't wait to retire, but that's what mom and dad did. So I guess that's what life is." But if you teach them that it can be so much better, giving them such a gift.
Do as I say, not as I do. It's that whole example thing.
Yes,
I
exactly.
remember how upset, because I was a smoker for a while, how upset my dad was. And it's like,
Yeah.
all I ever saw you do was smoke.
Yeah.
Like, what
Yeah.
else was I supposed? So I remember when I had my son, he's 21 now. I'm like, I
Yeah.
am going to quit smoking forever, and I did because that's going
Good.
to be the best way to show.
Yeah.
And kids take all that in. They're little sponges. So who has been that inspirational force for you in your life that's allowed you to navigate through these careers to find your happy place right now?
In a lot of ways, my father, technically my stepfather, but I call him dad. He helped raise me. Um, Brilliant scientist, preeminent scientist in the field of geophysical fluid dynamics. Brilliant man, and so, so good. And he grew up, got his PhD at MIT, very educated, very smart guy. And he wanted to be an aeronautical engineer. And he failed his boards 3 times. And again, this is a guy who's never not been successful. And it was really inspirational for me as I was going through all of these yikes. I just got laid off or fired again because I'm a horrible financial analyst or a recruiter. I was a great recruiter, but you know what I mean. As I got through, it's like I saw where he was now, loves, loves, loves his work. He's 80, what is he, 88? And he's still working on problems. He's still, he could have retired years ago and he still works almost really for no pay because he
Yeah,
just enjoys what he does. And that was an inspiration for me.
yeah.
And that was really helpful.
So when you look at the world of business, of people that have created companies that have had a good work culture and they've had a product that you come back to, just kind of holistically, who do you
Mhm.
emulate or who would you love to meet and have a lunch with that might help you on your journey to understand your job and what you're doing?
That's a great question. And I don't know. Well, Mel Robbins. I mean,
Yeah.
it's cliche, but she's phenomenal. I love her. I love her podcast. And she's very open and honest about being $600,000 in debt and, feeling that and feeling frustrated and feeling ashamed and, not loving what she was doing. Well, I don't know about that part as much, but, getting out of that. Her husband has been open about feeling really depressed around that whole situation, and I don't know her how she ended up as a podcaster, but she's a phenomenal podcaster with a million people and writing extremely, popular bestseller selling books,
Hmm.
and now is living her best life. So I would love to sit down with her. That's my dream podcast. And nothing gets you. This is wonderful. I'm really enjoying it, but I would love to be on her podcast
Yeah.
one day.
Well, we put it out there. It's out in the universe. So let me
I'm gonna
ask you
make it
this.
happen.
That's it. So let me ask you this. Every day you wake up, you have to, as an entrepreneur, there's so many marionette strings you have to pull on,
Hmm.
and you're making a difference in people's lives. But you have a soul, you have a family, you have this all of these things going on. What is the energy every day for you to do it all at a high level effectively?
I believe in creating win-win-win solutions. Every time I have a situation that I'm trying to make a decision on, to the extent possible, that's the title of my forthcoming book. So, just to let you know. Um, for example, with the VAs, what I love about the VAs is again the coach, the client, the founder, whoever it is, they want to focus on their zone of genius. So let's find a way so that they can do the things only they love. The VAs, I get teary every time I tell this story. So we had our VAs create a video not too long ago about why they want to be a VA, why they wanted to and why they love being a VA. And one person got on and she said, I love being a VA. I love partnering with my client. I love helping them and growing their business. But I also love, because of the money that I earned, I was able to buy a car. And with that car, I can take my kids to school and
Wow.
I can spend time with them. And I have more time with them. I don't have to worry about the buses and they're going to break down and things like that. Not only that, she can go on vacation and spend time with her family. She was never able to do that because she was always hustling and always running. And then I think too about that little drop of her buying a car, right? That gave money to then the car salesperson, and he was able to support his family. She told me it was a he, that's why I'm not assuming. But he was able to support his family and all the things that he supported, all because I did that matchmaking between a
Yeah.
client and a VA.
The
And
ripple.
that it's the ripple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets me verklempt.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, ran into the 18-year-old version of you, and you
Mhm.
walked into a room and there was a film projector and you hit play on it, and there was a 60-second highlight reel of this life that you've lived, the choices you've
Yeah,
made, that you've
yeah.
orchestrated, would that young version of you believe that this life that you've led has turned out this way?
No, my that 18-year-old of my, of me would have been, that's fantasy. That's
Yeah.
fantasy. I look back at 57, I look back on my life and say, whoa, how did that happen? I've got an amazing husband whom I adore. I've got an amazing son who I mostly adore when he's not driving me nuts. He's going off to college in the fall. I love the work that I'm doing. I love my body. I've worked really hard. At that time, I was quite large. I love my body and, the things I'm able to do and move. I love, I finally found exercise that I love, water aerobics. Oh my God, game changer for me. So, no, I think I was so in the weeds of how miserable I was, and it's nice to look back now and to say, "Wow, I created this."
That's wonderful. So let me ask you this. If you walked into a room of everybody that's known you as a professional throughout your career, and
Mhm.
you could go to a podium and tell them one fun story about you that would humanize you, that they would see you in a different light, maybe the first concert you went to, maybe jumping out of an airplane, a seminal place you vacationed at that was magical, outrunning a bear, some fun story that would cast you in a little different light for all of those that think about you as a businesswoman. What story, fun story, would you tell
Hmm.
that room?
Well, this was when I was 15, and my mom and father decided that my father is a professor, he's a scientist, and he's decided to take a year sabbatical in Italy. And I was a stupid 15-year-old and said, no, I don't want it. That's, stupid shit. Ended up going anyway. And they arranged an exchange with an Italian family. And so I went over, flew over. And again, being a stupid 15-year-old, I'm not going to learn Italian. I don't,
Yeah,
everyone speaks English, right?
yeah,
And get off the plane, and my host family meets me. Luckily, a couple of them spoke English, a couple of them, most of them did not speak any English. So I get there. I'm jet lagged. I've never been to Europe. I'm, tired. I miss my parents, all of that stuff. And I get to Italy, and my Italian sister says, "Oh, let's go down to the little piazza." They lived in this tiny little town near Bologna. And they said, let's go down this, all of our friends hang out at this piazza. And she says, get on the back of my moped. And things changed. All of a sudden, it was seminal. It's one of those things that you don't think about until the moment it happens. And that's when I said, oh, Italy is powerful. Italy is a good place. Are you hearing the beeping of my,
let me make sure on my end it's not. Yeah, let me make. I just made a modification on my end, so
okay,
hopefully.
that's the beeping is actually me. I just wanted to make sure you
Oh
weren't
yeah,
hearing it. So
yeah, yeah.
sorry.
No, you're good. No, it's all good.
Okay. I realized I had left my Outlook open, and so that was still making noise. So
Yeah,
apologize for that.
you're fine.
So yeah, there's little things that sort of doop, that changes things. It's
I remember in high school, my I had a pen pal that was from Italy. She was in Castle Fiorentino. She was south of Florence. Well, my family came over here, so my dad was full-blooded Italian. So it was a big deal to go over there, and it was amazing. It was magical. And I remember one time I went to Rome one afternoon,
Yeah.
and I was just Rome. If I've been reincarnated somehow, my blood is attached to that area. It was so cool. But
Yeah.
I remember I got lost one night. I was staying by the
Hmm.
Vatican, and I got lost, and I was getting into some sketchy places. I didn't know the language that well, and I finally ended up making it back. And I was in this hotel room, and it had like 9 skeleton keys. And I remember I finally got to the hotel room, and I dropped on my knees, and I just kissed the front of the hotel. I was like, I can't believe I made it. But it
I
was
made it.
so magical. Italy is such a wonderful, wonderful place
Yeah,
on this planet.
I
So,
agree.
of everything that you've done, when you look in the proverbial rearview mirror of your life, everything that you've done, accomplished, overcome, and evolved to, what are you the proudest of?
I'm the proudest of the life I've created.
Yeah,
And that's so broad, but it's not one thing. I'm so proud of my son. My son is an amazing young man and off to college and is strong and mostly self-confident and just grounded, just a good kid. I'm so proud of my marriage. My husband and I, we look at each other. We will be married to this year's 20 years.
yeah,
And we look at each other and say, everyone talks about marriage being the hardest thing in the world. We haven't found that. I'm
yeah,
proud of that. I'm proud that I've discovered what my zone of genius is, which is that matchmaking and helping people and making a difference in people's lives. Um, I'm proud again of the body that I've created, right? I was very, very overweight as a child and an adult, and I'm not that anymore, and that's powerful. I'm proud that I discovered who I am and because again, you asked me what the 18-year-old would have said to,
yeah.
would have believed, and no, there's no way I would have believed that. I was miserable. So
That's
I'm
wonderful.
proud of it.
I love it. So, if anybody wants to get into virtually aligned, any of the other good work you're doing, any and all of it, where do they go? Where's the best place?
Virtuallyaligned.com. So virtually and then aligned.com/podcast is the perfect place just to
Okay.
check it out. That will get you there. Get some sense of us. But if you are by any chance a franchise broker or franchise developer, you can check out yourfranchisepros.com. And so that's another way. Check me out on LinkedIn. That's the
Okay.
best place to check me out. So it's whatever linkedin.com/in/Anna Brambilla.
Okay.
And so, by the way, my last name is Italian as well because I married an immigrant, a man from Italy. That's
Right
a
on.
funny story I can tell you about if you'd like. Would
Yeah,
that be?
please. Yeah.
So when I was 15 and I was dating Italian boys, and I came home one day and I said, I'm never marrying an Italian. It's not going to happen. Because the boys I was hanging out with were not great.
Yeah.
And came home, but I speak Italian. I love Italian. I was dating, put my profile up on Yahoo Personals, which doesn't exist anymore,
Yep.
and got a DM from, it's not called a DM, I guess, from a cute Italian boy named Marco. And he was impressed that I spoke Italian. And he had just moved here from Italy about 6 weeks before we met. Fast forward a couple of years, we're married. And he was writing an email to a friend of his in Italy. And because I speak and read and understand Italian and write Italian, I was looking over his shoulder and he's writing an email to a friend. He goes, by the way, I'm married now. I'm living in America. I'm married an American woman. She speaks Italian and she cooks Italian. And that's all he said about me. My name, what do I do? What do I look like? Who I
Sure.
am? He's like, that's not important,
Right.
you know?
Uh-huh. You got to boil down to the essentials. I totally get
Well
it.
done. Yep.
Living in that world, I totally get it. So, what a
Yeah.
great story. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking a
Thank you,
minute out.
Joe. This was great.
Yeah, best of luck with everything. And I